Stephen,
Andrew.
do you fancy spending a quiet night inside number 9?
Yeah, let's.
Right, we're going into Series 8, Episode 4, Love is a Stranger, directed by Jesse Quinones, produced by Kim Crowther, written by Reece Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton, and it first aired on Thursday, the 11th of May, 2023.
It did.
I have two synopsises.
Synopses.
One, I'm enjoying going into ChatGPT and seeing what it thinks is real.
Has this been your whole week?
It's a small part of my week.
Okay.
That takes up quite a lot of time. So there's a serial killer on the loose. The Lonely Hearts Killer appears to be targeting people looking for love through dating apps. We follow Vicky, who's been on the hunt for a good man since her mother died last year. It turns out it's not a particularly easy quest. That was my synopsis.
Oh, right, okay. I was going to say that was bang on the money. What was the problem?
Cheers. Thank you. Okay.
You sound like an AI.
Love is a straight... that is what AI should be producing, something like that.
What you mean, correct?
Correct and to the point.
Mm-hmm.
Love is a Stranger is an episode from the darkly twisted anthology series Inside Number 9, created by Reece Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton. Set in a mysterious apartment building, each episode explores unique and often macabre stories that take place behind the doors of the building's various Number 9 flats. In this particular
Why would there be many Number 9 flats
number 9
in one
flats.
building? The postman must be just livid.
In this particular episode, we are introduced to a seemingly ordinary couple, Mark and Emma, who have recently moved into flat number 9. As we delve into their lives, it becomes clear that their relationship is not what it appears to be on the surface. Mark is an introverted artist, plagued by an intense sense of loneliness, and his paintings reflect his inner turmoil. Emma, on the other hand, is a charismatic and extroverted woman who thrives on attention and social interactions. Their stark personality differences create an intriguing dynamic within their relationship. One evening, as Mark struggles with a creative block and feels increasingly isolated, he discovers a peculiar object hidden in the apartment's attic. This object possesses a mysterious power. It can alter the perception of love and attraction between two individuals. Fascinated by the potential implications, Mark decides to experiment with the object, secretly using it to manipulate Emma's perception of him. As the power takes hold, Emma becomes increasingly infatuated with Mark to the point of obsession. However, the consequences of tampering with the delicate balance of love and desire soon become apparent. As the episode progresses, the boundaries between reality and illusion blur, and the characters are confronted with the disturbing consequences of their actions. The episode delves into themes of obsession, manipulation, and the destructive nature of unchecked desires, all set within the eerie confines of Flat 9. Love is a Stranger is a captivating and unsettling exploration of the complexities of human relationships, showcasing the unique storytelling style that has made Inside Number 9 a standout series in the realm of dark comedy and psychological suspense.
What is happening?
Really weird, isn't it? So, what were your reactions to this episode?
This episode, not the one you just
the one I've
described to
just
me.
described.
We can't start every single week with this from now on.
Can't we?
No, we can't. It just, yeah, I'm baffled. This episode,
Yeah. Love is a Stranger.
I thought it was brilliant. I called it early. Then was led to doubt myself. Was led a merry dance of self-doubt, only to be proven right at the end. And I think that was what the point was.
I think so. That was my experience. That's what. Also, I've seen a lot of people writing about that. I knew what the twist was going to be. It was quite obvious, and I think that was the point.
I like to think that. I'm not going to pat myself on the back here and say, saw that one coming a mile off, boys. Come on. No. You got to get up pretty early to fool this guy. No, I think it was the point.
Yeah, because I think it was the storytelling that went through the episode as everything kind of came together as to why she was the Lonely Hearts Killer. And I think it was just it was one of those really unnerving episodes. A lot of silence in terms of soundtrack. There was not the music sort of came in and out at certain moments, but I thought it's quite a rare. There's not many episodes I could think of where you have such a straight acted part.
Yeah.
And I think Claire Rushbrook was amazing at that. Like, just, it reminded me a little bit of Thinking Out Loud with how serious and straight up it was. Like, there's no, because a lot of Inside Number 9 characters have a bit of an exaggerated quality to them, slight caricatures. But she wasn't that at all. And I think that was I found that quite unnerving.
Yeah, I did, especially when you watch it back again. But what I have found is that all those things that were making me feel sorry for her about her story, I kind of feel like all of that was still true. And I feel like all of those things she was talking about and you were feeling bad for her about were all contributing to where she's now ended up.
Yeah, absolutely. There's moments of deception as she picks up on lines that have been fed to her by other people, and then she repeats them, which feel like she can't even do that herself. Like, she actually comes clean about stuff to the other characters. And actually, yeah, a lot of that stuff, like when she's talking to Norman, and there's a genuine sense of like, isn't it nice to be able to talk about this stuff? And it is like, actually, no, she is obviously completely on her own and unable to even allude to the fact there's something a little bit sinister or not quite okay going on beneath the surface.
That stealing lines and then coming clean was really odd when you get to the end of it. That she's almost creating this whole... She's getting wrapped up in this persona that she's going with, which I don't... Again, I think there's a lot of truth in that character that she's created for herself online. That is her.
Yeah.
She's just not coming out and saying, and all of this has led me to want to smash people's heads in.
Yes, exactly. And she's very certain about not being a victim as well. And there's obviously nods to Psycho, massive nods to Psycho in the kind of relationship with the mother, obviously Norman, and wearing the dress, which was her mother's. Like, yeah.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
Yeah, so shall we just rumble through the episode and...
Yeah, because we just get introduced to each of these characters one by one, all of which I thought were great in their own little ways.
I thought they covered the different elements of this world quite well.
Yeah. And then there's this thread running through all of it where there's like this flash forward scene building as you go through, and you're quite rightly thinking that this is all a prelude to that, to how they ended up there. Very sinister character appearing at the door with black gloves on. Don't wear a long black coat and black gloves if you're not a murderer.
Yeah, and that's sort of the first scene, isn't it? With the news report about the murders. There's been another body found this morning. And then you've got Vicky getting ready, and then there's a knock at the door. And yeah, it's kind of, I suppose it's setting up potentially, okay, which the murder mystery is going to be Vicky dies, and which of these people that she's talked to is going to be revealed as the killer. Yes. Or is it going to
Which would have been, that would have been far too obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it would have been far too obvious, even if it was the least likely one for it to have been. Did it? Yeah. Was that one? Yeah.
And I think it was either way, because even, making it her as the killer, it's really obvious as well. But it's kind of, it's almost a nod to this sort of episode. You get it in all of these kinds of anthology series, I would think. Like you could imagine it in Tales of the Unexpected or Twilight Zone or whatever. But it's I think they do it in a different way. Like it's a new way of approaching it with the kind of online aspect.
And I think that's actually quite an interesting thing of having an episode where all these people are interacting and having these conversations, but at only one point is there more than one person in a room together. It's a bit there's sort of shades of Cold Comfort with people just talking to screens and being watched by cameras.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're kind of seeing everything through cameras, and again thinking out loud as well with the sort of talking heads aspect. With obviously you've got interaction rather than just different characters on their own, but even I guess that's through a screen. So it's and
it's the fact that not a single person there really is in danger until they make a very deliberate decision to put themselves in danger. It's not like someone creeping around the alleyways grabbing you as you walk through. It is just don't invite people around your house.
Yeah, exactly. Don't give your number to somebody that you've only met for 4 minutes. Yeah. Yeah.
To which your face was a mouse.
Oh man. Yeah. I've seen a few people sort of debating whether her intention was to kill him all along, or whether it was the fact that he revealed himself to be no better than anybody else. It could be either, really, because she'd probably find fault in him at some point.
Yeah, that would suggest that she does have some pure intentions on Palm dates, where she just wants someone, but they just keep turning up and being so awful that she has no choice but to smash their heads in.
Swipe left and smash their heads.
That's their fault, really. Yeah. Be better.
I wonder that because that is kind of ambiguous, isn't it? As to whether is a part of her genuinely looking for this and thinking I can find somebody, and then it's just, but nobody is ever, like, I always get let down by these guys.
Well, she made some reference to her mum, and I didn't quite really know what it was that she was talking about when she spoke about being not being the victim, and about stuff that had gone on with her mum with men.
Like
and
her
I
dad leaving, I think.
Was that all it was? But her mum was just generally mistreated by men because her dad walked out, and so she now has a massive chip on her shoulder about any male who would like to be in a relationship. And so, in that case, nah.
Or it could be literally just about her dad having walked out, and mistreated her in that sense, and then left.
Which is interesting when you consider how disgusted she was with Norman. Not Norman. Was it Norman?
Reese's character.
Yes, Norman just trying to find his mum, and actually what she's doing is repeatedly finding her dad.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And smashing her dad's head in repeatedly.
Yeah, that's what it is, isn't it? Yeah, dressed as her mum.
I have never been, but I used to love watching it on the TV, and I've always really loved gardening.
Really?
Yeah, I put it as one of my passions.
Well, that's a good start. What else is on that list?
Well, that would be telling, wouldn't it? I've got to keep some of my feminine mystique.
Absolutely right. So, how big's your plot?
Yeah, so someone's at the door, and then we cut to this. Do you see the Palm dates, the little screen?
Yeah, the loading
I think,
screen.
And with subtitles on BBC, it was like smoochy music or something like
smoochy
that.
Music.
The description, yeah.
Yes.
And we meet
Edgar. Matthew Horn, who Have you ever seen any Bad Education?
No.
Odd program. It's the one where Jack Whitehall is a teacher.
Oh, I've seen some of that actually. Yeah.
And Matthew Horn plays a creepy, out of place head teacher who I don't really know how that casting happened, but this seems like almost an amped up, creepier version of that sort of person. Mm-hmm. What I found with this guy was his ability to be both creepy in being really interested and then switching to being incredibly creepy by being uninterested.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very difficult to read in terms of his intentions and what he's there for. And I think that, they all have different intentions. I think that's the point of every single one of them is they're looking for something that they're probably not going to get.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. And they, because he's like he's weirdly, because he sort of using euphemisms and things around the.
How big is your plot?
Yeah. Little nod to the fact that, maybe there's a murderer here.
A burial. Yeah.
A burial. Yeah. And we see her, that sort of emptiness of her existence is really played out right from the beginning there, where she's like, I love gardening. It's a passion, but I don't have a garden, essentially.
Yeah, little
window box.
Yeah.
You mean a jar, a pickle jar. Your gardening is planting bodies, essentially.
And her family consists of a brother that she's going to see once he's settled down. And he's been there for 6 years.
Yeah. And so that's that kind of alluding to that sort of life on hold aspect of her, where everything's just, it's almost like you can imagine she's just woken up as she is right now, realizing all I've been doing is caring for my mum, and like I haven't, like my life's just passed me by. And I think that's kind of summed up in that. Yeah, I'm just waiting for him to settle down. It's like he's lived there for 6 years. Yeah, I think you can go.
And actually, this at this stage, I haven't necessarily twigged on the wrong murderer, because he does seem like a murdery type, and I was kind of wondering how that was going to happen, and I guess that was the point. He was, horrible.
Yeah, in there with the let's live dangerously, share our names. And he was, and he just changes into that bored. He's just totally disinterested in what she's saying, and then
he's like picking his nose.
Yeah.
He's into Dire Straits and Dylan. What's your favourite album?
Simply Red.
Probably the greatest hits.
Yeah,
I'd have to say the best of the Beatles.
Yeah, and I think you wonder on like rewatch, has he dodged a bullet? Has she? Because she was obviously interested in maintaining the conversation.
Yeah, she was going in keen, especially when he made a weird euphemism involving sofas, saggy sofas. Is that not? Are you not supposed to be sort of trying to, I don't know, make your language a bit nicer when you use an analogy about a sofa?
Especially when it's a bit confusing, because it's like, okay, so are you after a sleek and hard lover?
Yeah.
Is that the sort of sofa you want? A sleek and hard sofa? Surely not. You want a nice sort of...
aerodynamic sofas are incredibly important.
Yeah, I think it's sort of it's a weird metaphor, that one. And then he finishes by saying, "Well, this is good practice for the next one."
Yeah,
and it's just like, so harsh.
And she was still when he said, "We've only got a minute left." 55 seconds. Well, that could be half a lifetime in the world of speed dating. She seems desperate to keep this running.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah. No.
And maybe that's what it was for him. He thought, I'll see how this goes. And then halfway through went, I've got what I need out of this.
Yeah. And she hasn't. But again, on rewatch, you're thinking she's seen someone here that is not a very nice guy who could potentially be quite a good victim.
He could be a good victim. Yeah.
Which again is like, is she wanting to lure people? Like that question again is she wanting love? In which case she then gets disappointed when they turn out to be arseholes and she has to kill them. Or is she looking to lure someone who she can immediately say, no, you're an arsehole. I'm going to kill you.
You say a good victim. Does being a bit of a creep warrant being bludgeoned to death? It's fair game.
I'm going to say no, but
I'm not going to say he's fair game. But
I think, yeah. No, I think it would be harsh. He was harsh, but I think bludgeoning him to death would be harsh as well.
I'm really glad you came.
Right, victim number 2. Good evening.
Hello there. This is weird, isn't it?
Could you sit up for me, please?
Sorry?
Sit up a little, would you? The lighting is very poor, your end. Is that deliberate?
No. Maybe if I tilt the screen back. Is that better?
Marginally. Now, I have a brief checklist, if you don't mind my going first. Always best to have a plan, I find. So you are.
So after Edgar, there is another little jump in time in between scene where we see, what's her name, Vicky, letting up this figure into the apartment. And is that when she says, I'm really glad you came?
it is that happens. She says that twice. It's like an overlap. I had the same reaction.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I've heard that before. And I had.
Yes.
Minutes earlier.
And then we jump back to the old Palm dates. And
Onanism, I think it's described as in the League of Gentlemen. Partaking in a palm date.
Yes, indeed. Norman Jenkins' second victim appears.
I do quite like Norman Jenkins.
I quite like him. He's a character I feel like I know. I don't
Not
spend
from
much
dating.
time with those sorts of people, but yeah, just his whole telling her to sit up because the lighting is very poor. Your end, is that deliberate? And kind of like basically insinuating, are you making yourself dark because you're ugly? And then he gets his checklist out, goes through this checklist basically on his search for a new mother.
He has some domestic expectations.
He does, yeah.
But he may not be able to deliver on certain expectations due to having had a pacemaker fitted.
He's had a pacemaker fitted. His heart needs to be maintained between 60 and 80 BPM. Yeah.
He's just a great character. And at no point did I think that he was a murderer.
No, he seems very... although I think the hair is behind him.
Oh, is it?
Which is quite weird that it's not in number 9.
That's true.
And he's called Norman. So
Norman 9.
Norman 9.
Norman not 9. Mr. Bates. Norman not Bates.
To kind of get the footloose and fancy free line in this bit as well.
Loose and free.
Yeah, which is, and then it goes into this thing about like it's good to talk about the big life changing stuff to someone, and then he takes that personally. Oh, I'm not lonely, if that's what you mean. Which is it's a kind of strange little.
She talks about how when she lost her mother, she kind of lost her bearings.
Yeah, untethered and lost her bearings.
That's a bit of a sort of a confession moment, almost that. Yeah. This all kind of spiraled for her, and this is how she's, I'm not going to say dealing with it because it was just a lack of dealing with it. Yeah,
this is how she's processing it, responding to it all. And And she, that sort of invitation to meet for a coffee to talk about it would suggest, I don't know, I read that as like a genuine, or maybe there is someone, maybe she is just like, I want to kill him, that's fine.
Anyone. I'll kill, literally kill anyone. I've just had bloodlust. That's all this is.
But there does seem like because he talks about that story of like, if they went on a date, they'd go to Kensington Gardens, because that's where his mother used to take him, have ice cream before dropping him back on the train to boarding school. And like, she seems moved by that story.
Yeah.
And like a bit of a empathy moment there of relationships with mothers. But then he shuts that down with no, you look nothing like her.
That's a brilliant line.
Yeah. So he's like, he is just looking for a mother.
I think that's why this Vicky character is played so well, because it's so hard to tell if there are any flickers of what could be real feelings and real emotions and actual letting guard down. You cannot tell at all. And I know that's part of a character being played within a character, but it is superbly done, because you really don't know, even knowing that she's a murderer. At the end of all this, you still can't tell if there are little moments where having a guard down, and how much of this is stuff you should genuinely feel sorry for her about, because it's all contributed towards making her into this monster. Yeah, it's good.
And is all of this kind of I'm a nothing person, like even that whole I was a carer before I then just volunteer at a charity shop, and like with Norman going through the things like I like gardening and walks and cooking, and he's like, standard stuff, like it's all very ordinary,
just say it,
nondescript stuff that means that she blends in to, like, she's very unmemorable, which is probably quite ideal for a serial killer. Unremarkable, and nothing about her that is going to stand out to people as like, there were some red flags there. I mean, there's no red flags with her.
No. She actually does come across as just lovely and unsure of herself. Yeah. And you see her the way that she's talking to those people. Yes, it's a serial killer act, but at the same time, she does come across as a lovely lady who just can't find someone.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, and so she's a bit sort of shaken by the end of that conversation. Just a bit sort of like, what the hell? And then Manny appears.
My last date was after a mother rather than a partner. You never know who you're going to get, do you?
Yeah, true. You've got lovely eyes.
Thank you.
The moment Steve's face appeared with that beard, I just smiled. His characters are always so good.
It's brilliant. Yeah. He's such a disingenuous liar, essentially.
He is, but he's playing the opposite. Self-deprecation and
like a cuddly man.
To the extent where she drops her guard, supposedly, from her little lie that she's picked up from her Edgar conversation about being a
landscape gardener.
And then comes clean. Oh.
Yeah.
Again, there's onionness to this.
She's a really complex character. There's that moment, isn't there, where Manny looks down the lens and says that she's got nice eyes, and there's a little bit of music that comes in to reinforce the sinister moment. But
is it him? Is it going to be him?
Real very unnerving, to say the least.
So you've got lovely eyes. I'd like to keep them in a jar.
It's a really interesting thing, isn't it? Of like looking at people on a webcam. So like we're looking at each other right now. I'm looking at you on the screen, but like obviously in that episode, everybody's looking straight down the lens.
Well, it's something that Apple have tried to work on with their cameras, that there is some processing going on that tries to deal with that,
like you're looking,
and make it look like you're looking at the person, because that is an issue, that if I'm looking at you, I'm not looking at you. If I want to make eye contact, I've got to make eye contact with the camera, which is what I'm doing now.
Yeah. And only one of you can have eye contact.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're not.
And that's weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Your conversation is with a camera at that point and not the person.
Yeah. It's like going for the effect.
It's why it's such hard work that a few years ago, everyone just started having all of their interactions like this. And it's hard work because you can't pick up those things that you would usually pick up when you're in person. And your mind has to work so hard to almost fill in those gaps.
Yeah, and when you're talking and you're gauging someone's interest in what you're saying and they're just staring down, even though they're looking at you, it feels really unnatural, because it's like normally, I mean, even if you don't have eye-to-eye contact.
I know, I like to really just sort of bore into...
yeah. There's something that tells you they're engaged.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bizarre way of meeting new people in that sense. But yeah, I was struck by the fact that in that moment particularly, he's looking straight down the lens and saying, "I like your eyes. You've got nice eyes," whatever.
And that means he's not. Yeah, that means he is not looking at her eyes as he's saying that. That is all for effect.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, and then
it's him. It's definitely him.
It seems. Yeah. There's something not quite right about him. And then he talks about his occupation as a Rubik's Cube phone line operator.
What?
Yeah, I was not expecting that. Brilliant.
No,
Brilliant detail.
And I like the fact that he thinks that there's some possibility of monetizing this through social media.
Through franchising it as well.
Franchising it.
I'm not entirely sure how that would work. But
well, franchising suggests that there's a level of demand for this that he alone cannot satisfy. And he's going to need to farm this out to other people who can run their own business using this franchise to do the same. Now, I don't know a huge amount about franchising. However, I would suggest that a distance service where you can phone from anywhere.
Yeah.
Probably not needing to be franchised. It's not like a chicken shop where if your area doesn't have one, you can open one to satisfy demand.
No.
And then to suggest that maybe social media is where you could go to find real success. I'd suggest that someone could just ask someone.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine a Rubik's Cube helpline is sort of, its days are limited with the internet.
Yes. Especially as you can now buy Rubik's Cubes that connect to an app and tell you exactly how to solve that cube.
Well, there you go. Yeah. But maybe it's, again, lonely people, because I think there's an illusion.
You use that as like a conduit for actually what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
It's your Trojan horse. And you push you push the Rubik's Cube into the conversation, and everyone climbs out of the Rubik's Cube and pillages.
Exactly. Yeah. And he talks about, I mean, it's 17 minutes to solve a Rubik's Cube as well. It's quite a long time to be on the phone. And he does say...
That's also a really long time to solve a Rubik's Cube. I think by that point, you just can't do it.
So I think that it's just like maybe with this, it's lonely people connecting with each other. And he says it's mainly talking muggles through to self-completion, which is a whole different kind of premium phone line, I think.
More palm dates.
Yeah, palm dates. Yeah, and then we meet his wife.
Yeah, it reminded me a bit of that interview on the BBC a few years ago with the guy whose children run into the room and then the wife follows in.
Yeah, that was so good.
But yeah,
she's not happy.
Oh, you wouldn't be, would you?
And I get annoyed with him in that with the line about sort of like breaking someone's ribs, and then she's like, I've done it before, and he's like, she has. It's like, what? And you're putting people at
someone
risk.
else in this situation.
It's like really horrible.
He's very matter of fact. I know it's probably a standard reaction and people would just do it, but the way the blame is immediately laid at the door of the person on the dating site, for daring to talk to her husband, like,
who has no idea that he's married.
This man was just delivered onto my screen.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
And then later on, someone is delivered on her living room floor.
Yeah, nice. And yeah, they have that little exchange about, I wish I had a hobby I could turn into a job. You're thinking on second viewing, but it's quite difficult to turn serial killing into a paying job.
You've got to get it on social media.
Maybe you get everything on social media nowadays, can't you?
You can, including someone to have a bit of fun with.
I wish I had a hobby that I could turn into a job.
Oh, it's the best.
And then there's another in-between scene. The door opens. We've got a bit of a POV thing happening, and the bottle of wine, which has been opened already, is handed over.
That's the behaviour of a psychopath.
It's a strange thing to do. Is that part of the ritual of what he learnt on that course?
Yeah, maybe. Yes. Which sounds like an Andrew Tate course.
It does, yeah.
It's a power move, isn't it? Here you go. I don't care.
But it's just weird.
Yes. I mean, yes, it is.
Because to me, it speaks of a lack of self-control.
Yeah, but so's walking in and insulting someone's dress.
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole thing is...
The whole thing's awful.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and then we cut back to she sat at the table, kind of feeling a bit like this night's not going great. She's drinking her wine. And then there's a voice saying hello through the screen.
Yeah.
Leslie is just a complete knob.
She's got a bipolar name.
She does. She's ended up on the wrong track, which keeps happening. So why not do something about that? Because that's not why we're here, is it?
Well, it turns out that it actually works out quite well for her, doesn't it? Because she's not here to find love. No. She's here to make women feel bad about themselves, so they will then buy her diet products.
Yeah. And she's not very good at that. She's good at probably making women feel bad about themselves, but I can't imagine unless it's similar to the whole negging thing, and you do manage to basically convince somebody that you are.
I guess so. That's the point of her being there, is to convince women that they need to do something about themselves. And they have a need to spend their money on these diet supplements. What's weird is the way that Vicky reacts to it and starts dropping the Kerry Russell Grant line. Yeah,
again, taking something she's heard and owning it disingenuously.
Which is odd. What does she have to gain out of this conversation? Because I'm pretty sure Leslie isn't her target market.
No.
Is she? Or maybe she's thinking, I could branch out.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Because she connects with talking about descriptions of... Yeah, when they're talking about like bubbly and homely and living life to the full, she's like, oh yeah, that actually means raging alcoholic. And then obviously that's the sucker punch is the footloose and fancy free line, which is a totally empty existence.
And you get the piano music's then back in again, the feel sorry theme.
Yeah.
That little motif that keeps coming back. When you're supposed to feel sorry for Vicky, that you get the little twinkles.
Yeah, you're being told what to feel. Yeah. Leslie goes into proper market research mode with relationship status options.
And then that horrible thing. So Vicky opens up, tells the story about her mum,
Yeah.
and it's completed with, "So you turn to food."
Yeah, you found solace in food.
Oh,
Not really, no.
no, that wasn't.
And then she ignores the fact that she's like, no. It's like, we're so hard on ourselves sometimes, aren't we? And like, she's
Ladies like you.
massively crowbarring this kind of subject change into it, like, and it is, I mean, hadn't really thought about it until now, like the parallel with the pickup artistry stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just
That's
salesmanship,
true, yeah.
isn't it? Like, of actually, I want to make you feel like I'm superior to you and that I can help you, or like that you need to be somehow subservient to me. And you're going to look for my approval, but I'm going to destroy you first, essentially.
Yeah, so you have such a low opinion of yourself that you're likely to sleep with me or buy my diet pills.
Product. Yeah. Which is marketing in a nutshell a lot of the time.
It is. Ladies like you, bubbly. Fuck off.
Yeah. Outrageous. Fish in a barrel. Yeah. Not nice.
Then we go straight into the last one, don't we?
Straight into the mouse. Yeah.
Mouse.
And she's seething at this point. She's given up. And I think there's she's genuinely feeling bad about herself.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like just exasperation when this mouse appears. And it's like, oh, come on.
At least I'm not a turd. There's one that makes you look like a turd.
Yeah. And I really love the expressions. Like, it captures the expressions, like the ups and like the sadness, and then the little bits of joy.
Yeah, there's the iPhone animojis, they're called.
Yeah.
Do that really well.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they pick up little things like eyebrow movements and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The sort of little bits of your face that really do convey things. It is
it's
weird.
Almost, you can almost see more facial expression on that than you would just looking at the face.
So I guess it gets a bit caricatured, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you have to give an instruction for if the eyebrows moved on the object, make them move on the image, and it kind of just gets a bit enhanced. But you're right, that little mouse looking sort of ashamed of himself, and it just made me think of that lawyer. That old lawyer with a cat. I'm not a cat.
It's like genuinely couldn't get rid of it.
My interns have been. I'm not a cat.
Don't keep saying sorry, as you sound like me.
What have you got to be sorry for?
Oh, daring to exist according to most people on here.
Yeah, not easy, is it? Being gazed at and picked over by half a dozen strangers. I've never done this before, and I don't think I'll bother again.
Why not?
It's just too painful. Confirms all the worst things that I think about myself.
Well, don't be like that. I'm sure there's somebody out there for you. You're a man or a mouse.
He didn't do a great job at a realistic story, it turns out.
Lazy Town. That was a throwback.
I was sold on it.
I was, because I'm not. Since I was aware of the existence of Lazy Town and Sportacus, I wasn't aware that Lazy Town stopped.
No, but obviously Vicky is. She used to watch.
Vicky knows.
Yeah, and then there's the moment where they have a cheers to us, and
the actor picking up the drink breaks the filter.
Breaks the filter, yeah. Then there's like this shift to Vicky trusting him at that point. Because obviously, despite the fact he's lying, it kind of gives a reason for his lying, which is probably quite relatable for her in terms of like putting a story on something of shame and something she doesn't.
Or it's kicking into easy target.
Depends how you're reading it. Yeah.
We've got a low self-esteemer.
Yeah,
he'll be round like a
this
shot.
Is easy. Here we go. Yeah,
like fish in a barrel.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things I really love about this, because it's that isn't clear. It isn't clear as to the target, whether she is finding fish in a barrel or it's kind of good faith that then turns bad.
Yeah, there is more to it, isn't there?
Yeah.
I think there's more to it than I first thought.
I think so. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of complexity going on behind. I think there is some genuine stuff going on when she's having these conversations and she's giving away little bits of herself.
Well, like when he says, "I don't get to meet many women IRL," and her face just has this beautiful little shift where it's like,
he said IRL, and that's the thing that she did earlier.
Yeah. And then he says he can't put up with the stairs, and Vicky's got bants.
Vicky's got bants.
Yeah.
No, it's a nice little moment.
It is a nice little moment, yeah. And I think there is an authentic, like, you know, he talks about being either the Invisible Man or the Elephant Man, and she kind of relates to that. Like, and I don't think that is just the character that she's created as the serial killer. I think,
you know what, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is a level of she was willing to give this one a go until he revealed himself to be a prick. And she went, I have to do it again.
My ponderance would be, would she find that eventually anyway? Because nobody's perfect and they're going to reveal something sort of dislikable.
And then there's the bloodlust.
And that aspect of, like, because she talks about, you know, finally coming out into the world like a flower starting to bloom. Coming out to bloom is like she's found her feet as a killer. Like there's something about that that's really empowering her, and like she's feeling like, yes, I finally found out what I was on earth to do. But yeah, so it ends with that. Except no one wants to smell me. I do. Sorry, that sounded weird.
But I guess at this point, you're also still, back of your mind is wondering, is he hiding his face because he's a murderer? Yeah. Especially when you then start to join some dots and think, hang on a minute, this fits that he could be the one turning up at her flat. And then he is. Then they really drag out that scene when he arrives and really make you think that it is him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The music is working hard at that point.
It is working hard, yeah. Yeah, it kind of goes from very nothing to all in that sense. And I think if he was if this was a James Bond film, he would be the killer. Because they still haven't quite got over the whole James Bond villains have to have some kind of facial disfigurement.
I have to cry blood.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Oh, yeah. Or have metal teeth.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, so he holds his phone number up, and she manages to get it down in time. I don't know how. I would not have been able to write that down as fast as she did, but good memory.
Screenshot would have done.
Oh, yeah.
Print screen, go.
That's true. Yeah.
That's what I would have done.
I swear, you're good.
If I was trying to make sure that I could get hold of the person I was going to bludgeon to death, I'd have taken a screenshot.
I get overlooked as well. No man, no job. Unless you count being a carer, which most people don't. So this is me finally coming out into the world, like a flower starting to bloom. Except no one wants to smell me.
I do. Sorry, I meant that sounded weird. I mean,
we've got 20 seconds left. What can you say in 20 seconds?
Hold on, wait. Check this out. Hope you got a good memory, Vicky.
And so the calls are over. Jaya's here. Vicky's made a lasagna, salad and garlic bread.
It's got layers.
Layers.
There you go.
And then there's this just really weird moment, isn't there? When she invites him to sit down, and the mood changes when she kind of asks him about his work, how his day was. What do you do for work? So, I'm in investments. I'm
going to buy some Bitcoin.
Running the numbers on some Bitcoin. Yeah. And then just like straight into the neg on the dress.
You're the third person I've seen wearing that dress this week. Must be on sale at a charity shop. How does he think charity shops work?
I mean, the whole thing is, it's a mess. And then he jumps to so he goes from the being a dick with the Bitcoin to
being a creep with a jewelry.
Yeah, basically sort of like, now I'm going to be really nice to you and give you a gift. And I mean, it's all out of like the grooming. And that's where it's like this really weird crossover between like, marketing, pickup artistry, and then actual like proper grooming.
Actual grooming, yeah. I guess it's all of it is just rooted in psychology of getting people to do stuff.
Power play,
really.
How to make people feel inferior and then sort of wanting your attention and whatever. And then he takes a sniff and she goes to get crisps.
I can smell you now.
It's creepy, very creepy.
You've been working today because I never asked you what you did.
Yeah, so I'm in investments. So buying, trading, selling. I'm actually going to get some Bitcoin soon, so I'm just running the numbers.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah, it is really exciting. Yeah. It's an interesting dress you're wearing. You're the third person I've seen wearing it this week.
Really?
Must be on sale or like at one of them charity shops or something.
No. It's quite old. It used to be one of my mum's, I think. What makes you say that?
Yeah, and then the great conversation about having to empty her mum's bag every 4 hours, so she hasn't been on many dates.
Sounds draining.
Literally, yeah. And then the weird thing about his mother.
Yeah, is your mum still with us? I think so.
And it's almost like he's so focused on.
Yes, that's what it is. He's just laser focused on what he's about to do.
He's not even registered what she's at.
No.
And then just, launches himself at her. Which I suppose and there's no point at which I was thinking he's about to kill her.
The only point I thought he was about to kill her was when he was putting the necklace on her. That was the only point that I thought he might be about to garrote her.
A bit of a threatening... Yeah.
James Bond villain style.
Yeah, that's true. But in the kitchen, it's all just like, what are you doing, mate? Like,
I love his angry response of getting his condoms out, lobbing them. These are a waste of money.
Wine.
These half drunk.
Yeah, and then kind of goes through the process of like, I thought I could skip a few steps. Like these are all things I've learned on this pickup course, like the higher value of the Bitcoin and negging. It's supposed to make you like me more or something. He went to the toilet in that bit, so not quite sure.
Because the rest of it was flawlessly executed.
Exactly. And then she goes into the sort of like, I'm disappointed. You've let yourself down, which
almost
would again
motherly.
indicate the very motherly. And indicate the fact that, like, no, I'm going to have to discipline you. I was hoping that it wouldn't come to this, but
you know what? And I like that he doesn't even do a bit of a sort of a mea culpa. You know what? Yeah, bad form on my part.
Yeah,
let's at least enjoy dinner.
No,
you know what?
Down.
I'm not even interested in it. I'm not even interested in the food. That's not what I'm here for. You're right.
It's a lasagna. How can you not be interested?
Love a lasagna.
I love a lasagna. Garlic bread. Yeah. Lovely evening.
Half drunk bottle of wine.
Beautiful. And then so she disappears to sort of set the table, which is already set.
All right, mate.
And then he's like, "Are you nagging me now?" As he's looking at the jars.
Oh, because she was talking about how stupid people would have to be at this point to go out and meet people. Yeah, with a serial killer on the loose.
And then his eyes rest upon a jar with a finger and a wedding ring. And then it's interesting that, because there's quite a lot of time where he could have reacted and maybe, because I mean, a mallet is not the most sort of versatile instrument in terms of like, if he...
No, that's true. The only harm you're doing with that really proper job is head.
Yeah.
Smack on the head.
And he just sort of stood there and allowed it to happen.
Takes it.
Yeah.
He's a bit stunned. He's a bit shocked.
I mean, you're probably sort of in a bit of freeze mode at that point. Like, oh, I wasn't expecting this.
He thought he'd found someone with low enough self-esteem that they might fall for his pickup artistry. So to find them suddenly very much in control of the situation with a weapon. And
yeah, it's the reveal that you've been waiting for, really, isn't it? It's not the twist that you're like, oh, no way. But in many ways, it's almost like a comforting reveal of like, oh, we've come home to the place I was expecting to return to.
As comforting someone being revealed to be a killer and smacking someone around the head can be. I don't know what you generally find comforting. I find that quite unsettling, personally.
Well, you know, I was comforted.
Different strokes. But she also, that's where she talks about, she doesn't like the name they've given her. She doesn't like that it makes her sound like the victim. Because that is the thing, is like, it says the Lonely Hearts Killer. And I kind of initially took that to mean she kills people who are on Lonely Hearts websites because they are Lonely Hearts. Mm. She's the killer of Lonely Hearts. But she's got someone's finger with a wedding ring on it. Which suggests that the Lonely Heart is referring to her. Yeah. But she's not.
Yeah, because it could also be like the killer of people who have rejected, you know, you're sort of bitter and resentful. So you kill people like a sort of incel style. You're the Lonely Heart. And you can't. Lonely heart. Yeah. But no, I like that. I was thinking, actually, I would put that as an episode. And funnily enough, I was reading something earlier which said this wouldn't be an episode I'd use to introduce people who've never watched Inside Number 9 to Inside Number 9. I'd already thought, actually, I think this would be up there as one that I would. Because it has a...
Yeah, but I've introduced people using Riddle of the Sphinx, so I'm...
yeah.
Possibly not.
You're a brave man.
You know... Go hard or go home.
I mean, it would be one that I'd use for certain people. Like I'd often use Bernie Clifton's Dressing Room because that's just got a good solid twist, a great performance or set of performances, and it tugs at the heartstrings. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
but I think this one is good for like a bit of gentle horror.
Yeah.
And just the unsettling vibe of Inside Number 9 comes through this one. So, yeah, I don't know.
You get the nice work that the music does in Inside Number 9. It really comes through in episodes like this more obviously than sometimes.
Yeah.
It always does. But I think there are some episodes where it kind of gets to play a bit more of a role, and those ones where it is a bit more tense and a bit more atmospheric.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I enjoyed this. Yeah, I don't have anything more to say. Really.
And that's all I have to say about that.
But we would love to hear from you if you liked it or didn't like it so much. Do get in touch via email, quietnightinsideKnow9@gmail.com, or follow us and message us on Twitter at AQNIN9. And we will be doing a wrap-up episode, so we'll talk about correspondence we get about the episodes in Series 8 at the end of the series. So please do get in touch before then. If you get in touch after we've done the wrap-up episode, then we probably can't include it in the wrap-up episode.
The word probably there. Doing some lifting.
Yeah, great. Cool. I've got nothing more to say. Do you have anything more to say?
No. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.